What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite films, film franchises, and TV. Today, on a new episode of Slice of TV, we're sitting down to talk about the entire Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. I am your host, Brett Parker, and joining me once again is the amazing Andrew Schoening.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Them suckers couldn't get rid of me that easy.
Listen, we're talking about a show that takes place in space, and who better to have on but Schoening?
Yes.
Oh,
yep.
Lord.
Apparently, I've become the resident space expert.
You're not, it's just space. It's not Star Wars specific. It's not Halo specific. It's just space. We're talking about space. We're talking with Schoening here. Schoening, we just went through 6 weeks. Well, actually, technically 5, because we got 2 episodes in the first week. So we got 5 weeks of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we got a lot to talk about, because unlike our prior show we did, we got to talk about all 6 episodes in one podcast.
Yeah, we got to cover a lot of ground here.
We do. But what we're going to do first, as we always do, is we're going to go through and do our what we liked, what we didn't like, without spoilers. And then once we, run out of things to talk about spoiler free, we're going to jump into spoilers. So, that's when, if you haven't caught up with the show, if you haven't watched the entire thing and you want to, and you don't want to be spoiled, then that's where you leave and you come back when you do. So, Schoening, Obi-Wan Kenobi, what are our initial thoughts of this, of the series as a whole?
I'm going to make a lot of people very angry, because I've been reading the comments kind of, on a few different channels about, like what people thought of the whole season. And I've seen a lot of negative stuff about it. People saying, oh, it didn't live up to the way Star Wars was supposed to be. I was happy with it. The fact that we got Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor back, just there was an empty hole apparently somewhere that they left after episode 3, and by God, that helped fill it. I don't know if it filled it all the way. I might need more, but I am very pleased with what I saw. The writing was, in my opinion, very good. Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, just everybody else. They just acted really well with their characters. I loved it. I didn't feel like the series went out on a limb, to try to make 2 points between episodes 3 and 4 meet. It seems like all of these events that occurred in the 6 episodes very easily could have happened. Might be a few kind of plot holes that we can probably nitpick at later, but just overall, I was so happy with this, and I'm honestly sad that it's done with.
Yep. I feel the same way. This show, this was I don't think this was a perfect show by any means. This
No.
had its couple low episodes or just couple low moments. But when you say, hey, a character that you've loved since you were a little kid, because for some reason you like villains more than the heroes, is coming back, and you're actually going to get to see him fight like what you imagine him fighting like in, based on, video games and comic books and just the lore of this character, you're finally going to be able to see him fight like you imagined him to fight and do things you imagined he would do, because he's just one of the coolest characters in pop culture history. When you say Darth Vader is coming back, that's all I care about, to be honest. I'm going to be very blunt. Obi-Wan Kenobi, to me, is not a great character. Like, I don't care about Obi-Wan as much as a lot of people do. I love Darth Vader. And not Anakin Skywalker, not that whiny little bitch from the prequels, because he's a whiny little bitch. But as Darth Vader, he is such a badass. I mean, yes, he's a terrible person. Well, let me put that out there. He did bad things. But as the character, like, just what he does and, like, how powerful he is and the things he could do, like, you're just telling me, like, he's coming back, like, hell yeah, I'm all in. I'm
Mhm.
all in. Was I invested in all the other stuff? Absolutely, because I'm not an idiot. And I have to do stuff
Right.
like this where I have to, pay
Mhm.
attention to what's going on. It was really cool to see other people, other actors that were from the prequels come back. You got oh, man, why can't I remember his name right now? Joel Edgerton. When he was in the prequels, when he played Owen in the prequels, he was a no-namer. Like, he was it's like, "Oh, yeah, there's that guy." And now, I mean, he's huge. Like, he's a big time actor. He's a director.
Right.
He's done a lot of things in his career. So, for him to come back and do this show, I thought was really cool. Jimmy Smits coming back as Bail Organa was really cool to see. Also, Bonnie P.S., who played Beru, she played Beru in the prequel. It's
Mhm.
only for that small scene, but she comes back and plays her in the show. I think I don't know if the wife, Brea Organa, the actress who played her, was the one who played her in the prequels. I have to
Um,
look that up. I don't know. She wasn't. But you got James Earl Jones back to do the voice of Darth Vader, which is pretty crazy since the man's like in his 90s. And of course, as much as he gets hate and as much as I dislike Anakin in the prequel series, especially him in episode 2, Hayden Christensen's back to play Darth Vader. Now, a lot of people were upset because, it's Darth Vader. He's in the suit. He's being voiced
mhm.
by James Earl Jones because that's the way, it's always been.
Can you really have Darth Vader without James Earl Jones?
Exactly. But the way that this character evolved through the series and the things that you like, the obsession you see from this character, and then yeah, like Christensen makes appearances and it's really good, like, and it really ties in and it's really sad, to be honest. And
Mhm.
ah, man, I really loved it. I mean, the last couple episodes were definitely my favorites, especially the season finale was the best thing just because I finally got to see something like, we've seen glimpses of Darth Vader throughout, since the original trilogy, which, take it or leave it, the way Darth Vader is in those movies because, they were made
Right.
in the late 70s and early 80s. So, yeah, like the lightsaber fight that him and Obi-Wan have in A New Hope, not very good at all. It's very clunky. But in this, you got to see him move and do crazy things, and I was just so excited to finally see it in action, and, unfortunately, it took a very long time to see it, but we got it, and I'm very happy about it. Um, I'm just really sick of the desert, to be honest. Can we I like that's the it's a stupid thing to be mad about, and we talked about it when we did the Halo
W
reviews, but
Yeah.
god damn it. Is space just full of desert? Come
Well,
on, man.
I was gonna make the thing earlier, but I figured we'd touch on it here, and you've brought it up, is that, once again, lots of sand.
Oh,
Space is sand. In
Tatooine. Jesus. Can we stop it with Tatooine? I understand
uh,
it's the point. I mean, that's where he is and all that, but like, oh my god, I'm so sick of the desert. Um, some of my gripes, I think I'll probably just wait until we get to spoilers, just because there's gonna be some spoilers in there, and I'm probably just gonna say them without even thinking about it.
I was gonna say, you're gonna rant, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden yeah.
Um, I thought, the story was definitely up and down for me. I thought the first episode is one of those episodes like, guess what? Here we are. We're setting things up, and I really like that. Meeting the Inquisitors and seeing Obi-Wan again, and all that. I thought that was really good. I am gonna say something that people might not like because I know there was a lot of controversy around this character and around the actress, but this isn't about the actress. This is about the character. And it's and to be honest, it's because I don't think this character was written very well. So I did not like Riva. I didn't. I just didn't like her whole, like, I guess it's a really, I mean, the fact that she literally does what she does, for a specific reason, which is a very dull way of me trying not to spoil what happens in this series. But I don't know. I think it was just more like I don't want to like discredit her and say she's not a good actress because she probably is. I just don't think that her performance in this show was that good. I wasn't convinced on what she was doing. And overall, I just thought her entire arc was kind of just lame. Like I just didn't like it at all. To be honest, I feel the Inquisitors were kind of a letdown in this series. And we'll get to more of that in the spoilers. It's this to me, and this isn't a spoiler because if you saw the trailer and you've been reading on stuff about this show, this show legit was just for me. My main focus was it was it was Vader versus Obi-Wan. It was Vader's obsession to find Obi-Wan and stop him, and it's Obi-Wan's mission to either try to rescue Anakin from the dark side or to kill him, to finish him off. That was what I cared about. The Inquisitors would have been a great addition if they were done right, and I just don't think they were done right. That is my biggest gripe about this entire series. The Inquisitors were a letdown. If you want to see some good Inquisitor action, watch the Clone War. Or no, watch Rebels, because these characters were written better in that show than they were written in this one. In my opinion. This is all my opinion, everybody, so you want to be all angry about it. This is opinions. All right, sorry, I rambled on too much. You got anything else you want to say?
No, I'm going to wait for the spoiler thing, but then I'm going to challenge a couple things that you've said.
Oh, that's fine. Hey, that's the whole point of this. I wish I knew, like, I wish they told us why, like, where he comes up with the name Ben. Like, was it like something, like, it's never really explained. I guess it's not really that big of a deal. Like, I never really questioned, like, I wonder why he named himself Ben. But it was always one of those things, like,
things.
I'll take it. Like, I'll take that explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So Obi-Wan was directed. All 6 episodes were directed by Deborah Chow. My mistake. She is well known for. I mean, she does a lot of television. She did direct a few episodes of The Mandalorian, and she's done shows like Mr. Robot. She did the Beauty and the Beast show. I guess that was a thing. And yeah, that's about it. But she got a lot of praise for her episodes that she directed for The Mandalorian, so that was kind of why she was brought back to do this. And I thought she did a good job. I thought it's Star Wars. It's more Star Wars. I mean, that's the thing about Star Wars now, is I feel the live action Star Wars, they all kind of blend in together. They all can kind of they're all kind of here. There's really no differentiating everything. Like, I bet you if you just threw the Mandalorian, which makes no sense for the situation, but if you threw the Mandalorian into the Obi-Wan show, like if he just was like walking around, it was like, he doesn't feel out of place in this world. I know it's all Star Wars, but that's just the thing. It's like everything is kind of interchangeable, and Star Wars is Star Wars. To me, you just say, hey, there's a Star Wars show and I'm going to watch it.
Right.
I don't care. I really don't care. It's the same with Marvel right now. Like, people for some reason aren't watching Miss Marvel, but I'm like, it's Marvel. I'm going to watch it. And to be honest, it's good. You should watch it. All right. I'm done ranting. I'm done doing it because I got nothing else to say. Non-spoiler. So if you haven't watched any of the show and you don't want to be spoiled, make sure to tune out, go watch it, and then come back and watch the rest of this review.
Go.
All right.
Shoot.
We'll give him a few seconds here. Get out! But come back, please.
Hit the pause button. Then go watch all 6 episodes and then come back.
Yes. I do want to mention, though, real quick before we actually jump into spoilers, John Williams did the theme to this show. I mean, that needs to be mentioned because John Williams is the most legendary composer to ever walk this earth. So
swoon.
So good. All right. So, spoiler time, baby. Hit me with all your thoughts, your rants. Let's do this. Let's argue.
Okay, so I'm just going to try to start at the beginning here. I disagree with you. I think that while the Inquisitors were not used to their maximum potential, I think that they still added a really interesting piece to the show.
Okay.
I'm disappointed in the character design for the Grand Inquisitor because we basically have already seen him in
I
the
know.
animated series down the
It's very
line,
weird.
but I'm going to let that slide just because I know makeup and stuff can do a lot, but
Right.
finding somebody that would fit that profile perfectly would probably be hard to do. Anyway, I think the neat thing is you only see you only see 4 Inquisitors.
Yep.
You don't see them all. Now while you don't see them all and you see relatively limited amounts of them throughout the series, you see the inner workings of what I would consider Vader's inner circle here.
Mhm.
Everybody's no there's no teamwork here. Let's be honest.
No.
It's everybody's out for number 1, and if you're up on top of the totem pole, everybody down below is trying to figure out how to knock you off there so that they can take that spot. And
Well, before you go on, isn't the whole point of the like, pretty much why the Inquisitors exist is to hunt down the Jedi, but aren't they just former Jedi that were pretty much
they
like,
are.
either you join us and do this, or we kill you?
Yeah.
That's
No,
ultimately so that's
well,
why I feel like there's no teamwork.
it was that, but I also feel like there was some that were just straight Empire sympathizers. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't think it was all like they held a lightsaber blade to their necks and
Right,
went like,
right, right,
"Hey, you'd be useful to me."
right,
I feel like for some of those characters that it was kind of like they just were like, "Yeah, you know what? Screw the Jedi. We don't need them."
right,
Um, you know, freaking scum. Been wasting my whole life doing all this pritzy stuff when the dark side of the Force is so much cooler. Um, so it's kind of interesting how that works. Kind of intrigued, and I still don't, and maybe somebody who's more well versed in the Star Wars, like the extended universe, could help me out. Don't understand how they really fit in with the whole Sith rule of two. Because to me, basically all that the Grand Inquisitors are basically um Darth Vader's Padawans, if you will.
right,
They work under them. So, I mean, I know they're not considered Sith, but it's still to me, I mean, they wield red lightsabers. They're all Force users. Um, how the hell does that all work? It personally just doesn't make sense to me. But I am not as well versed in the many, 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 many different alleyways that the extended Star Wars universe works.
right.
Um, the other thing I want to challenge you on is Riva. Uh, I think her story was actually pretty decent, minus kind of how they wrapped it up at the end. Um, the I like her drive, what propels her through the whole thing. Seeing all of her, her being a youngling when Anakin storm and the 501st stormed the Jedi Temple,
Mhm.
having to pretend that she was dead. Basically, um, thinking that she tricked Vader into, believing that she was just a Force user, and, working her way up through the ranks, and stuff, just to find out that Vader knew who she was the whole time, and basically just being like, "Ha, you thought you could pull a fast one on me," and then, he was pulling one the whole time,
Right.
but, um, I liked her motivation, all the hate that she had,
Oh, no. I mean, listen, all the negative, like, bullshit that she was getting on social media, like, that was not warranted
no,
at
it
all,
wasn't.
ever. Like,
No.
it just because you don't like a character, like, she's playing a character.
Right.
Like she is given a script. Like, somebody else wrote what she did. Like, she's just
None of
doing a
those words are her
performance.
own. Yeah.
No, and it's like, you don't like the character, that's fine, but do not send hateful shit, racist shit to somebody because you don't like the character they play in a television show. Stop it.
In a fictional
That's why the
world.
Star Wars fandom is one of the most toxic fandoms, like, when it comes to fandoms,
Oh, yeah.
period. And I'll state it, like, people can hate me all they want. I don't care. I love Star Wars, but, like, and I just didn't vibe with her character. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate her. I didn't like, I do agree, like, I like the drive, but I feel like the performance just didn't prove to me like her drive. Like, there was some instances where, like, I feel like she was trying to be angry or trying to be tough, but it just didn't convey
But I
enough.
feel like that was part of her character.
I mean,
I
you're
mean,
probably right. By the end of this, you're
looking at
probably
it
gonna
from
switch me over.
looking at it from my lens is she is somebody who's out to prove that she's a hard ass.
Right.
I mean, that's what she is. So she feels like to get anywhere in this world, you have to be a badass. You have to be hard. You have to hate everything. And I feel like part of her character is just legitimately she tries too hard. I mean,
Mm,
she just does. Um, there's nowhere else but legitimately the end goal of being Vader's number one,
right.
or even possibly killing Vader as we come to find out. I mean, she she wanted to be, up, you know, she wanted to be the Grand Inquisitor, but we kind of come to find out, after Obi-Wan has a neat little talk with her that
She didn't care.
she really doesn't care. She just wants to kill Vader. And it's I think it's just I think her actual character is I agree with you that it's not the most well written, but I feel like for her and to introduce a new character and give her 6 episodes to make you uh feel like you know her backstory, where she comes from, where she's going, and what she plans to do. I think that's tough to begin with,
Yeah.
especially considering that she's not the main character. You're not getting the whole time with her. But I feel like I understand kind of where she was coming from. I mean, just dealt a shit hand from the beginning, and the world's just out to get you, and it will forever get you unless you are the most badass person this side of the galaxy. So I feel like part of her character is legitimately just how hard can I push it, and it makes her feel a little fake because she is fake,
Right.
and we
Yeah.
come to find that out. She's not as hard as she thinks she is, and you find that out in the end. And the only thing that I do have is I feel like they could have given her ending a little bit more of a better story there. I mean, like, you kinda just leave her with her on her knees crying, and it's just kinda like, "You can go do whatever you want now. You're not tied to Vader anymore. Go do something." And then she just is it's like, it's over."
Right.
And it's
I
just
thought
like, "Okay."
I thought she was gonna die. I thought she was just gonna, like, collapse and die after she brings Luke back.
I wondered.
That's what I thought. Well, let's go through episode by episode, and we'll do a little bit of a plot synopsis, quick plot synopsis of each episode, and we'll talk about each episode a little bit.
Yep.
So it all starts. It's 10. The whole story starts 10 years after Order 66. The show pretty much opens to that. It shows like the younglings training with Jedi, and things start to happen. They go, they're being brought through, and everything's happening. All the clone troopers are shooting all the Jedi and stuff, and they're trying to fight back. I really like this opening scene. We saw a lot of Order 66 in episode 3, the Revenge of the Sith, not episode 3 of this. But you get to see more of like different Jedi being,
Mhm.
killed unfortunately. And you get to see like just the view from these younglings, and then it switches over to 10 years later where we're on Tatooine again.
Surrounded by sand.
Sand everywhere. God, it gets everywhere. And this is where we meet the Inquisitors. We meet the Grand Inquisitors, which is played by Rupert Friend.
Yeah,
Uh, I think the only thing I remember him in was he did one of the Hitman movies. That's all
indeed. Yep,
that's all I
you're right.
remember.
He did do Pride and Prejudice.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch that one.
Well,
Um
Just looking through his IMDb here.
Oh, dang, I didn't know that, the guy who plays, Lucius Malfoy does the voice of him in the Rebels show. That's pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Jason Isaacs, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Um, we meet the 5th brother, played by Sung Kang, who is, with Han in the Fast and Furious franchise.
He's still drifting.
Oh my god. This, to be honest, as much as I was complaining about Reva, it could not stand the 5th brother. I didn't like his demeanor. I didn't like how he sounded, and I was like, can this guy just die? Can he just die, please? I didn't like him. And I know he's in the Rebel show too, and I heard he dies, so spoiler alert, I don't care. I'm glad he died in the show. We have Mose, and then we meet the 3rd sister, Reva, played by Moses Ingram, and they are looking for Jedi, because that is the whole point of Inquisitors. So they go through and they're trying to find. They walk into like a bar, I guess, or a tavern or whatever the hell they call it in Star Wars universe, cantina, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's the Grand Inquisitors walking around trying to get people to try to point out the Jedi, and then of course the Jedi makes himself known, and he does a pretty decent job trying to get away. And he actually does get away. And he later meets with Obi-Wan, who goes by Ben nowadays. And he's like, "You gotta help me, Ben. You gotta help me." And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I can't do anything. Please go away. I don't want to deal with you." We also see Obi-Wan lives in a cave. He's a cave dweller, and it's a pretty cool cave, by the way. And he deals with a Jawa. I can't remember the Jawa's name.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But yeah, he deals with him. He's trying to get parts for this plane that he's going, like, it's I can't remember what ship it is, but he's trying to create like a model, a ship for he's going to bring it to Luke. By the way, he works at a meat factory. Literally, this creature died in the middle of the desert, and Obi-Wan works for this meat company that literally just removes the meat from this dead carcass, chops it up, and somehow never gets caught for stealing, because he steals every day to feed to his space camel. I know I'm making so many Star Wars people mad right now, because he's like, "You don't know the names of any of these things?" No, I don't, because I don't read all the books and I don't know every little bit of lore. Okay,
It's the same thing as me.
It's all about movies and shows when it comes to Star Wars. So he, he's trying to build this model ship so he can give it to Luke. His Luke's uncle's not a fan of that. Pretty much tells him to leave him alone and stop stalking him, you weirdo. Stop standing behind rocks watching him with your binoculars. And we get to see flashbacks too. We always see flashbacks throughout this entire series of like things that happened in the prequels. So you see Qui-Gon dying again, and the fight between him and Anakin on Mustafar, and which you see a lot. And then we bounce, and then he's trying. So Obi-Wan at the end of episode 3 pretty much was told that he would at some point be able to talk to Qui-Gon again. They don't know much about the Force ghosts yet. It's kind of a new thing, but he's always trying to communicate with Qui-Gon. He's trying to get him to talk back. Never does. And Obi-Wan goes back to town and he finds that Jedi that escaped and tried to get his help. He's hanging in the middle of the town. Yeah. So that sucks.
That sucks.
It does. Kind of fuck you, Obi-Wan. And we then bounce to Alderaan, a planet that you don't fall in love with this planet because at some point it's not going to exist. That's the thing about this show. And I liked it and all, but like I'm seeing these things and I'm like, I know what happens. Like it's
Isn't
sad.
that the worst? Is that where we all got to end up at.
Exactly. This whole planet blows up and it's sad. And we meet little 10-year-old Leia. She actually looks like she's like 6 years old, but she's supposed to be 10. And she is played by Vivian Lyra Blair. And to be honest, I actually thought her performance was pretty good. Like, I thought she did pretty well for, a young actor. And a lot of people did not like her. They thought she was too. I was like, a lot of the complaints that I was seeing in other reviews of this show was that she was too confident, which made no sense to me because I was like, she's Leia. Like, that's the whole point of
Leia's
her.
always confident.
Exactly. She's very confident and she's very snarky. I'm like, did you guys ever watch Star Wars? Have you ever seen Star Wars with Princess Leia? Because she is exactly those two things. So why wouldn't she be that as a kid? I don't know. She's very smart. She's very, very smart. So but she's a rebel. She wants to do her own thing. She doesn't want to be a princess. She doesn't want to do the princess stuff. So she ventures out into her favorite place to hang out with her little droid Lola, which is adorable, by the way. And she gets kidnapped by Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm not even kidding. That's who it was. It was Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And yeah, he kidnaps her, and Bail Organa, the dad, is like, Obi-Wan, we need your help. He calls him on like
Oh my
the
god, it actually is
hologram.
Flea from the Red Hot Chili
I
Peppers. I had to look that up. I never even put that together. What the hell?
Yeah, exactly. So his name is Vect Nakru. I don't know if that's relevant to anything else, but so he kidnaps Leia because the whole point, I guess, was he knew. So he was hired by the Inquisitors, or Darth Vader,
By
I
Reva
guess.
specifically.
By Reva specifically, and so that Obi-Wan would get lured out, because her thing is she's obsessed with finding Obi-Wan. Because does she know that Vader's obsessed with finding Obi-Wan? Is that the whole point? Just to kind of get on his good side? Okay, that makes sense. And so at first, Kenobi's like, "No, I'm not about this. Like, I can't do that. It's dangerous. Like, I got to make sure I watch the boy," talking about Luke, and just like, the boy's fine. Stop being a weirdo watching him from the rocks. And he's like, "Fine, I'll go look for your daughter." And so that's it. That's the end of the episode. They beat up. Well, actually, Bail Organa comes to Tatooine to personally meet with him in his cave and is like, "Please go get my daughter." He's like, "Fine, jeez,
Whatever."
And they go. And that's the end of episode 1. My takeaway. What are your takeaways? We're not gonna go. I don't want to go too deep into each episode, because then this episode will be 3 hours
Right.
long.
Right.
But like, what were your initial thoughts on episode 1? And every single episode is just called part 1, part 2. There's no unique episode names.
Right. No, just to make it real short and sweet. Of course, you meet Obi-Wan here again. He's a shell of the man that you see in episode 3. I mean, the dude is beaten down by pretty much everything. He's living with the ghost of Anakin's past. And,
Yeah, literally.
And you kept talking about constantly, Obi-Wan being a creeper watching from the rocks, and now I've got nothing better. I gotta say that Family Guy did it first, and Herbert the Pervert was the perfect person to play that now, because now all of a sudden,
I forgot that he was the one who played Obi-Wan.
Whenever I see this anymore, and he takes down his little scope, I'm just gonna want to hear Herbert's voice going like, "Yeah, that's right. You swing that." just that's all I want to hear.
Oh, Herbert. Oh my god.
So that's all I need now from now on, is just I need somebody to take legitimately all of Obi-Wan, get the guy that plays Herbert the Pervert to come and voice him the whole time, and just dub in a whole version of it. I need it. Anyway, to get back on track, once again, you just kind of, I mean, they did a good job, in my point, of kind of just setting up the story. Even though with the whole Leia being kidnapped thing, I felt was kind of interesting. With how they were so easy to draw a connection between Obi-Wan and Leia, just because of Bail Organa and him being friends in episode 3. I mean, that was basically because that was kind of just the tie-in. Nobody knows that Leia is Anakin's daughter. Nobody
No.
knows that. Legitimately, all they know is that Leia's attached to Bail, and Bail is friends with Obi-Wan, and that's legitimately the best thing. And in my mind, it was like, why not kidnap Bail?
Right.
Why not stage some sort of coup and get Bail? That seems like a much more bigger risk, but I suppose for the sake of writing it, he knows that he can't let anything happen to Leia either, so, you know, gotta go. Um, but it was very good. I like the casting for little Leia. Vivian did a wonderful job. I did look up her birthday. She is actually 10 years old as of June 4th of this year. So, I mean, they even got the actual like age of the kid right. The I disagree with everybody saying that her character was not the way Leia should be. I felt like we saw a growing Leia there, and I think it was perfect. Um, you're yeah, I can't get over the fact of you talking about the fifth brother and Sung Kang legitimately playing him, and I every time I see him in through this whole series, every time I saw him, I'm like I keep expecting him to pull up in some tricked out car and just be like, "Get in, we're going drifting." And that's legitimately just what I expect. And then I just expect somebody to just him to be out flying a TIE fighter and some X-wing come and T-bone him, and that's the end of it. But
And Jason
just
Statham just kills him, and you're like, "What
just
the hell?"
yep, yep, and that's
Oh,
just it. Jason
no.
Statham jumps out and kills him. But no, it's just I it took me a while through the first episode to realize that was who was playing him because of all the makeup and everything like that. But
Kinda looked like
also
Benedict
just
Wong, to be honest.
it did. I honestly thought that was who it was, and it wasn't until I checked IMDb to be like,
Yeah.
"Is this
Like,
Benedict Wong?"
yeah.
Uh, because just the way he acts in this,
Yeah.
the
The
way
way he
he
talked and stuff too.
well, Wong's got this thing when he acts, when he talks, he kinda, like, punches and looks like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he kinda squints his eyes, and, it's kinda like this a little bit, and he does that.
Yeah.
And so I had to double check. I was like, that's not Wong. No way." And when I found out that it was Sung Kang, I was like, "Oh, well, that just makes it so much better because Fast and Furious." But, um, the first episode I thought was a good one. Basically, really set up where we were going. I was drawn in. I immediately wanted to watch the second episode because I was like, they released it at the same time, but I was just kind of like, I need to see where this is going. I got to see what is going to get Obi-Wan's story started here that we're going to be invested for 6 episodes here and then hopefully not ruin the series. And um I left the first episode going like, okay, well, so far I have not seen anything that has ruined the time between episodes 3 and 4 for me. So I was happy at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good start. It was, showing how depressing it is being Obi-Wan Kenobi right now. And I like the addition of Leia. I thought it was kind of on the nose, to be honest. We were like, "Oh, of course, we're gonna be with Leia."
Right.
And also throughout this entire series, I was like, "Man, there's some parts where I was like, how are they like every time they do something in this franchise, it just kind of deteriorates A New Hope more and more, where it's like, I feel like it gets to the point where A New Hope is kind of like, do they remake A New Hope? Which they won't. They won't.
No.
Relax,
It
everybody. They're not gonna
they'll
do
ruin
that. At least
they'll ruin
at least I
everything.
don't think they'll do it. But this is, I mean, it's owned by Disney now. They might do it. Um, but like, to be honest, like, I watch these things and I'm like, A New Hope kind of is, I mean, it's still a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but it's I feel like they're just ruining A New Hope more and more because they're like, we're gonna add all these things that kind of don't make sense when you watch A New Hope.
So that was one of my biggest issues with the whole Leia thing. I love the Leia storyline. I love it, but the one thing that I don't like is in the very beginning of A New Hope, when Luke's showing Obi-Wan the recording of Leia and stuff
Yeah,
like that. She's talking to him and she's just like, "You served my father in the Clone Wars."
yeah,
And that's like That's
So
the
she
only
didn't know
way
who he
I've
was.
ever heard of you,
Right.
whatever. Where now as we know that we're going on this ride with Leia here, and we're just like, well, bitch, you've seen him before now, and
Right.
it's just like what we just retconned something here, and I agree with you on what you're saying, whereas now we've added something. So
Yep.
what happened here? Because are we totally forgetting the events of this?
Right.
I don't know how that works, but that was my one gripe with the whole Leia thing.
All right. Well, let's move on to part 2, which is just called part 2. So, so
Originality.
Kenobi tracks down the kidnappers to a planet called Dayu, and
I can't even pull it up.
he meets a Jedi, in air quotes for all my audio listeners, uh, named Haja Estri. He is literally conning people into pretending like he's a Jedi and he can help them get off this planet that's not very good. It's not a very good planet. And cool fun fact: when Obi-Wan runs into the girl on this planet and she offers him spice, that's Ewan McGregor's actual daughter.
Mhm.
So I thought that was a pretty cool. I didn't know that until I think a video popped up for me and I saw it and I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. So Obi-Wan breaks in. He uses his lightsaber and kills them all. Well, he doesn't kill them all. I think the main guy there, what's his name? Vect. He's left to the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor takes care of him
Yeah.
with his cool spinny lightsaber. I do not like the Inquisitor lightsabers. I don't like their hilts.
Right.
I've never been a fan of them. Even when I watched some of the Rebels episodes, I was like, man, I just don't understand who thought this was a cool concept. And like, look at my helicopter lightsaber. It's not intimidating. I just want legit. Where is she? I have a Vader lightsaber.
I would just while Parker's gone, I'm just gonna say, I absolutely just talk about how badly I wanted one of them just to fall in from the top of the screen one time with a spinning lightsaber and just be like, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!" I would have
Right.
died.
I just like this. All right. It's simplistic. It's cool. All right. That's all I want. All right. You're gonna stay right there. Vader's the best. But yeah, so he gets killed by the Grand Inquisitor, and Obi-Wan finds Leia. They run in, they're escaping on top of the rooftops, and there's a bounty out for Obi-Wan, so everyone's going after him. And Reva's there, and she's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna run!" And she does some crazy ass parkour throughout this entire. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Like she's using the Force, of course, during this entire thing, which I thought was really cool as well. Seeing her using the Force to do these really cool moves on the rooftops, trying to get to Obi-Wan, and yeah, and there's just a terrible shootout on the rooftop. It's terrible. Like it's terrible. I was
Oh,
watching it
it's
in
bad.
agony. I'm like, no one can hit anything.
What are you guys, stormtroopers?
Seriously, like Obi-Wan shot's terrible. But I was also waiting for him after the shootout was over to just throw the gun or throw the blaster again and go, so
So
uncivilized. And
uncivilized.
you're
Yeah.
like, all right. But they didn't do it, so I couldn't groan.
uh,
I really like how I'm talking about this show. Um,
Wait, do you want me to watch it or no?
no, I'm no. This is just the way. This is the way I'm going to do it. I can't change now. So Haja, of course, gets called out by Obi-Wan, and then he decides he wants to help. And Obi-Wan finds an unguarded like cargo ship, and he ends up going on it. And Riva runs into Haja, and you just think, oh well, this guy's. I mean, it's Camille Najjiani, who is a big time actor right now. Like he was just in the Eternals, and he's from what show is he? He's from a show, but he's big. He's big time right now. Like when it comes to Disney projects. So to see him in the show, I was like, are they really gonna kill him off in the first episode he shows up in? No, he doesn't. He just gets tossed around by Riva and then she leaves. And this is when Riva Oh, this is when they're in, like, the cargo area, and Reva is talking to Obi-Wan. She knows he's in there, and she's, taunting him and stuff, and you know she tells him that Anakin's still alive,
Mhm.
but and she pretty much tells him that he is, yeah, she just tells him that Anakin's alive. She doesn't tell him that it's Vader, but he kinda puts 2
Oh.
and 2 together. I don't think she tells him it's Vader. I think she just states that Anakin's alive. But maybe she does. Maybe I don't know.
Well,
It's been a
I
while since I
guess it
watched this
could
episode, so
be kind of I guess it could have been kind of, like, implied because, well, I mean,
Oh,
Obi-Wan knows that he's under Sidious's rule, so I guess it's kinda just implied, "Hey, he's Vader."
right. No, I think she does, state that Darth Vader is Anakin, and he's like, "Oh my god." The Grand Inquisitor shows up during this whole thing. Reva's like, "I'm gonna get him," and he's like, "You need to sit the down. All right, you are just pressing your luck. Everyone hates you here. Like, you're on your last. Like, we're gonna have to write you up. All right, you're gonna have to go home and with no pay." And she's like, "I'm not gonna do that." So she freaking gets him with the lightsaber, and everyone was up in arms. The Grand Inquisitor can't die because he's in Rebels. Wah! Everyone lost their fucking minds with this shit. I was like, okay. And yeah, and then Kenobi and Leia escape in the ship. And then we get the really cool shot though. They go to Mustafar and you're like, I can't I want to see him. And it's just his, Hayden Christensen's face floating in a Bacta tank. And I was like, all right, I'll take it. I just know he's
Eh,
coming. He's coming,
yeah.
baby. He's coming. Ah, I
You
can't
you
wait.
do get they do play you kinda that breathing sound, and you're just
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
"Yes."
Yes. All right. Episode 2. Thoughts?
Episode 2 was kind of more of a lull episode for me.
Okay.
Um, while the story was good and, the whole catching up, catching up with Leia, and killing her kidnappers and stuff like that. Um, I felt like kind of with you, I was not impressed with the shootout scene. I was very disappointed in that whole thing.
Okay.
Um, I just felt like it kind of for what he was trying to get into, which was basically a rescue mission. I just felt like it kind of fell flat. It was very basic. Like
Yeah.
let me just find where she's at. I'm just gonna find this out, and then I'm gonna go get her out of there with pretty much very little resistance. And then I'm going to other than some really cool shots, like you said, of jumping across some buildings, doing some parkour, stuff like that, because um Leia kind of comes to find out that, or well, is thinking that she can't trust Obi-Wan. He's just another one, out for
Yeah,
her.
yeah, yeah.
Um, just because it's just kind of amazing because all of a sudden this kid just gains some amazing parkour abilities and is just leading him on this
Yeah.
chase. And
She's
I'm
crazy.
just like okay, well, that's pretty cool and stuff. And the standoff with Riva was neat as a story perspective, where she does finally mention, and I did look it up. There is a quote here, and she says, "You didn't know he's alive, Obi-Wan. Anakin Skywalker is alive, and he's been looking for you for a long time." And I'm just like, wow. She is. It kind of sets the stage because we hadn't seen Vader yet, and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you're like, oh my god, he's gonna come. He's gonna come. We're gonna see him. And I
Give
was
it
like,
to me, baby.
yeah, I was personally at that point, I was about ready for him just to walk in behind her and just go like out of my way. This he's mine. And it was just that point was neat because you see when she says that, Obi-Wan like the sudden realization, like, oh my god, he's still alive. I thought I
Right.
ended that 10 years ago, sort
Right.
of thing. And uh you see a broken man almost become even more fractured.
Right.
Um, because you thought, from a guy who thought he killed his friend to realizing that your friend that you thought was dead because you killed him is no longer dead, and now he's back and he is pissed.
Mm.
And he's not going to stop until you're dead.
So you chop me up big time. So I'm gonna chop
Yeah,
you up big
it
time.
it's just one of those things. So the other thing I did like about that was you feel for Kenobi a little bit. You start to form a little bit more of an emotional bond with him in this one because you're just like, wow, I felt bad for him because he's been living for 10 years kind of in this sad state on Tatooine, and
Right.
now he realizes that Anakin's still alive, and you just see the hurt in his eyes, and Ewan McGregor does a wonderful job of portraying that and just seeing the hurt that is like, oh my god, he's still alive. I still got to deal with this, and I don't know if I can bring myself to do it. And the escape is pretty lackluster, I guess. There's not really much fighting, for them to get away. They just kind of it's well, they use the opportunity of the two Inquisitors legitimately just fighting with one another to
Right.
get away.
Right.
So I guess long story short, episode 2, it wasn't the best episode. It got the job done, but it wasn't something that if I told somebody, I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, definitely watch episode 2. That no.
I agree on all your points. So let's move on to part 3, which
Yeah.
is when it starts getting really good.
Yep.
So we are on Mustafar. For some reason, when you almost die on a planet, you're like, this is where I'm building my home base. And that's
Yeah.
what Darth Vader did. So yeah, we're on Mustafar. Reva meets with Vader, and Vader's like, you're gonna go find Kenobi, and you're gonna bring back Kenobi because he doesn't want him. He doesn't want her to kill him because he wants to do it himself. Because this is his whole thing. And if she does this, this is a fucking cool scene. Is this the scene where he lifts her up, or is that the next episode where he uses the Force to pick her up because she does something stupid? No. That doesn't happen yet.
No, it's not this
Sorry.
one.
This was the next episode. So they meet together. He says, "Go find Obi-Wan, and if you succeed, then I will make you Grand Inquisitor." And she's like, "All right, dope. Hey, other Inquisitors," and literally flips them all off because they all fucking hate her, especially the fifth brother.
Mhm.
He's like, "Oh man, I'm so grumpy all the time. I should be the one to be the Grand Inquisitor." So Kenobi and Leia, they land on a mining planet called Mapuzo, and they are trying to rendezvous with like this underground organization that helps Jedi escape. And they run into, so they're just wandering. They go to the spot. The person doesn't meet them there. They're wandering around, and then they meet this character. They meet this like dude driving a truck. I can't remember what the character's name is.
Frack.
Frack. How did I forget Frack? Voiced by Zach Braff from Scrubs. And he, he's a cool dude. And this scene just shows how stupid stormtroopers are. They are the dumbest characters in cinematic history, not just Star Wars, but of all, like they are sitting. So Frack runs into, because of course this planet's run by the Empire, and the stormtroopers one of them's like, "Hey Frack, can we get a ride?" And they're like, and Frack's like, "Hell yeah, you can get a ride there, stormtroopers, because the Emperor, I don't want to die." So they pick him up and they start driving, and he's sitting across from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Not hiding. He doesn't have his hood up. Oh, no, he doesn't have his hood up, but it's like, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he's talking and all this stuff, and Leia's trying to, like, have that she created this cover for them. And, yeah, they don't know it's him, and they're just idiots, and then they leave. I'm like, God, stormtroopers are just so bad.
It's the Superman effect, dude. When he's got his hood up, he's a totally
Oh
different
my
dude.
God. It's just like, I mean, to be honest, most superhero. I mean, Batman, for crying out loud. Man, that jawline looks really familiar. Is that you, Bruce? No. Oh, I forgot to mention in episode 2, I'm really ashamed that I forgot to mention this. We get a cameo from the guy who plays Boba Fett. Was
Oh,
playing a
yeah.
clone trooper that was kind of he was not in a good situation. Tamara Morrison. He came back to because of course he played the clone troopers in the prequels. He also does the voice of the clone troopers in Clone Wars and Rebels. So that was a really cool cameo. I hope there's something more with those later. And also, why did the Empire get rid of the clone troopers? I felt like they were more efficient.
There was actually a meme that I saw like the day after, almost the day after this episode aired on Disney Plus, and it was that guy that's sitting behind the little table at the park there, and it's got the sign. It's always changed my mind, and
Yeah.
it said the clone troopers were way more efficient than stormtroopers will ever
Yeah.
be. Change my mind, and I was just like, he's not wrong. Number one, way more loyal, basically programmed, and
No,
they
they
just
were programmed. That was the whole point. It's the only reason that they did Order 66, except for a
right.
few others that were able to remove their programming.
Yep.
But yeah, stormtroopers are stupid. That's kind of the whole gist of that. So there's a shootout at this checkpoint, and Frack's an idiot. Like Frack's a jerk. He turns them in pretty much. They get into a firefight, and then a woman, like a lieutenant or whatever position she is, she comes up with a bunch of other stormtroopers, and you're like, oh shit, this is not going to be good. And then she shoots all the stormtroopers, and you're like, oh my god. And she's like, come with me if you want to live. And I was like, that's not the right franchise. Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't say that. But that's actually the
It's
franchise we're
basically
covering in our
that.
podcast. But I digress. She saves them, and she's like, hey, my name is oh
Tala.
shit, Tala. Yeah, not Nala, not Lion King, Tala. And she's like, I am part of this underground organization. We help Jedi, we help move people around. So let's do this. You're Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're a legend. I bow down to you. Let's move on. She brings him to this like underground passage, and she's all excited. Yeah, they go into the room where it's got all the carvings on the wall of all
Mhm.
like the Jedi that have been there before, and he sees a name. What was the name? It was somebody who shows up in the Clone Wars, I think, or maybe in Rebels.
He does mention it, now I can't remember who he
Yeah.
hold on, let me see if I can find out. Keep going.
Okay. So while all that's happening, the Inquisitors and my boy DV shows up to do some damage, and oh man, just the little things that Vader does is just so awesome. Like he's walking through this town, and he force pulls a guy out of his shack. He then force pulls a person behind him like he's got him strapped to a chain. Like Vader is just ruthless, and to see him actually in live action using his force powers in the way that he does, it just is like, this is what I've wanted for so long, is to see him actually be cool. And
So, the Jedi that wrote a message that he, uh, recognized was Quinlan Voss.
yes, that's the name.
I'm trying to find out because, he mentions where he knows him from. I'm working on it.
I think it's from Clone Wars.
Well, they talk in the Clone Wars, but I was trying to find a Oh,
So
he was based on Tatooine. We must
oh,
see
okay.
him in episode 1.
I don't think we do.
Well, there's a picture, it says yeah, he's there, I just don't think you know that he's there.
Do you
And
actually
then there's
see him? Like visually
yeah,
see
yeah,
him?
yep, there's a live action version of him that you see in episode 1.
Hmm.
I don't like I said, I don't think that he's referred to, but there's
Right.
pictures and they mark him there. And then it says that there's just kind of, you see him quite a bit in the Clone Wars. And there's also a vision that Yoda has there as well. Apparently he must. I can't believe, because I watched
Wow.
through all of the Clone Wars. I can't believe I don't know this character better.
So as Vader is doing all the badass things he's doing, um, Obi-Wan's like, I have to confront him. I have to try to stop this. So he sends Tala and Leia to the where they need to go. They go down this tunnel and all that. And Kenobi and Vader face off, and Vader is just way too powerful for him. I mean, Kenobi hasn't used his force, it hasn't used the force in a very, very long time, so he's being overpowered pretty easily. And again, just literally give me 2-3 hours of just Vader being a badass, because he literally they're facing off, and Vader, there's stuff pouring, or he throws something on the ground and it pours this liquid, and he uses his freaking lightsaber to light it, and it goes into flames, and then he uses the force to grab Obi-Wan and then throw him in the fire and just slowly drag him through the I was literally sitting on my couch like, what in the oh my god,
That,
yes.
I'm sorry, was probably about one of the top highlights of the whole
Holy crap.
series,
Like,
because
of all of Star Wars ever.
I mean, there is
Oh my
nothing better
god, it was
than
so
just sweet payback at that point. I mean, that
oh,
you go to see what Vader is. You finally get to see in this episode what Vader is out for.
right.
And it is out for Obi-Wan Kenobi's ass, and it is to make him suffer legitimately as much as physically possible.
Yeah.
And when he just takes him and just legitimately just like drags him and then
Oh,
just
so
drags him
good.
into the flames, I was the same way as you. I'm sitting there going like,
Like, I felt like a kid. I'm like, this is what I've always wanted. This is what I've always wanted.
it was a scene that I didn't even know needed to exist, but now I feel like if it didn't exist,
Oh.
I'd be very, very sad about it.
So, of course, in the middle of this, Tala decides to go help Obi-Wan, and she starts shooting at the stormtroopers and Vader to kind of distract us so she can grab Obi-Wan and leave. And during all that, Leia gets captured by Reva, and the episode ends. Thoughts on episode 3?
Make it real short. Vader, same thing. Awesome. Love it. Uh, the fact that we got James Earl Jones back to voice him,
Yep.
even better yet. Um, just the mannerisms, everything. I mean, they portrayed Vader once again just perfectly. I mean, he is the Vader that you just love. And the only thing about this is he is in his prime and he is pissed off and
Oh,
he is
yeah.
powerful.
He is
And you
moving.
learn that he has found a way to tap into every ounce of hatred that he has, because his dark side powers are incredible. And you see pieces of him here. And it's just, I'm with you on this one. Vader makes the whole episode. It could have been, this episode could have been an hour long of Vader taking a shit. I would have been all for it. I don't care.
Vader!
It just, I don't care. It's just, it was everything I wanted out of this so much, just to see Vader in his prime, the way that we all remember him from episodes 4, 5, and 6, just being a badass. Um, the the whole scene with him fighting Kenobi, I was like, this is wonderful. This is great. We talked about the whole him dragging Kenobi through the fire and flames, expecting some Dragon Force to play in the back. Just needing. It was a scene that I didn't know I needed, but you see that just raw hatred that he has towards Kenobi, and you also once again see Kenobi, who is now weak, because not because he's a weak as a person, just because he gave up. He like severed his ties to the Force.
Yeah.
He's got nothing. He gave up. He's just like I'm done, and I'm just you see him fight Vader, but it's just like he is. He's doing it half-heartedly because I feel like he doesn't want to hurt Anakin at this point. He doesn't, it's just kind of like the dude's given up almost,
Yeah,
and he's
pretty
just trying
much.
to just survive. Um, it was a very good episode. I liked it. I know there's some people that don't think it's a very good episode, but uh, for what we got out of it, I was more than happy with it. So good job.
Yes, very good job. Part 4. So Obi-Wan escapes with the help of Tala. He's got to get fixed up. He's in a back to tank and he's having flashbacks and nightmares, and he wakes up and he's in a cave. He's in this like facility looking thing, and Ice Cube's son's there,
Mhm.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. And we then cut over to Riva interrogating Leia about the Path, which is the underground organization that was helping the Jedi. And she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not helping you, crazy lady. Stop looking at me with those eyes." We go to the Fortress Inquisitoris, which is a fucking cool name, by the way.
Right next to Bodie McBoatface. This is about the most straightforward name we can possibly give.
Oh man, look at that! Look at that! Oh my god, it's Bodie Okay. Oh lord. So yeah, this is the stronghold HQ for the Inquisitors. It's located on Nur, which I didn't know that. I didn't even know that was a thing. Kenobi and Tala, they come up with a plan of because they need to rescue Leia, and she's got connections because she's been disguising herself as an officer with the Empire, so she can go in there and figure things out to help him get into the Fortress Inquisitoris. And she's like, "This is gonna be it's probably not gonna go well." And he's like, "Well, we gotta do what we gotta do." And this episode is great, by the way.
Yes.
I'm just gonna state it. So she does her thing. I love the scene where she walks up to the security and the security's like, "Who are you? Give me your ID. You're not supposed to be here." And she's like, "Are you really gonna talk to me like that? I am your supervisor. Like, I will write you up. I will send you home without pay." Yeah, did I make that joke earlier in the episode? I sure did, but I'm doing it again because it fits. And he's like, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here you go. Go through." So she does her
I'm sorry,
thing.
Karen. Onward.
Yeah, please move on. Oh God. Am I gonna get fired?
Please don't call my manager.
She's looking up information. She's telling Obi-Wan like the best way to get in. He's got to go underwater and go through like a hatch that's under there, and you get to see him use his cool little device he used in episode 1 when he swims. He gets in and he discovers this really creepy ass trophy room full of dead Jedi, and you're like, "Oh, this got dark." Like
Yeah.
dark. And he's like terrified. And there's even a youngling, and I was like, "That's messed up." They
Yeah.
uh they end up getting Leia. Riva's just sick of her shit, so she brings her to the torture chamber. Which actually if you play Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, this room is in the game. So she's gonna pretty much try to get more information out of her in the torture room. Tala walks in and is like, or no, an officer walks in and is like, "Hey, somebody needs to talk to you. It's really important." She's like, "What the? I'm trying to torture this little kid. Like, can it wait till I prick her in the eye with this pointy thing?" And they're like, "No, seriously, you need to go talk to her." And she's like, "Fine, whatever." So she goes in there and talks to Tala, and then you have like this back and forth where Tala pretty much states how She tells her a bunch of information she thinks she wants. And she's like, why are you telling me this? She's like, I feel like you're a spy. She's like, I am, but not the way you think I am. She's like, oh, all right. Well, I'll be keeping my eye on you. And what the hell here? So yeah, Tala's ends her cover gets blown because Obi-Wan ends up finding them. They get chased through the halls. Obi-Wan or a blaster hits the glass. I like the whole thing where he's trying to prevent the water from breaking the glass, and he ends up doing it, and then it drowns all the stormtroopers. They literally have to pan to the window in the door and show the dead stormtroopers floating in the room, and you're like,
that was important.
Wow. These stormtroopers are dumb, and it's just a sad life for them.
They're very wet.
Yeah, they're not getting paid anything. And yeah, so they get Leia. This is the worst. This is laughable. Him having the giant trench coat and having Leia under the trench coat as they're walking. No one noticed this. Is there something wrong with that man? She might as well have just had Leia on his shoulders and then her pretend to be an officer like, hello, everybody. What's wrong with that one? He's got a small head. It was laughable. I think I audibly laughed out loud when he's walking out with this bulge on his side. Like, it's just a growth. Leave me alone. I'm self-conscious. Reva's not about it. She's like, bullshit. That's a girl under there. And he's like, surprise. And like, put some clothes on. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, they get in a really lame ass fight on this outside of the Fortress Inquisitoris.
That's how it's always got to be said. No.
Always has to be said. There's two people that work with Roken, who is the O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character. I can't remember those two's names, but they were really close. And they have what kind of ship is this?
Weren't they snow speeders technically? From Hoth?
I think you're right. Yeah, it's the one that wraps the AT-AT.
Yeah. I'm sure there's probably more legit names for them. I always knew them as snow speeders.
So they, those two people, they attack with those speeders, and and you get the really lame, like Reva's like it was kind of lame. I didn't like it. So they escape. Riva tries she throws a box at one of them, and it blows up and it crashes, and the other one's like, sad, as she flies away. And then after all of that, this is when we're in like the conference room, and it's performance review time, and Vader is not giving Riva a good score as he picks her ass up, and he's like, what the f- did you just do? And she's like, don't worry, boss. I put a tracker on the ship. And he's like, all right, cool. You are now Grand Inquisitor. And she's like, it was that easy? All right, cool. And Fifth Brother's like, what the is happening? No one likes her here. And that's it. That was Oh yeah, we find out that the tracker is Lola, Leia's little droid, and it turns evil because it turns red, and you're like, oh.
Yeah,
that's legit what happens. So episode 4, quick thoughts.
This was, I after looking through IMDb, this is the lowest rated episode, and I know why people rated it so low, but this had almost comic relief in it. With all the things that we said, from the point of legitimately Obi-Wan thinking he can just smuggle Leia out underneath a trench coat, just like,
it's too good.
I'm just like, oh my god. You want to talk about how oblivious the Empire is? Here's this guy that's legitimately hobbling out of here with a trench coat and an officer's hat on, and he's just like, hey, nothing to see here, whatever. And that's just hilarious. And then I do love the whole Vader Reva thing at the end, where he's just like, he like force chokes her, like, I told you what would happen if you failed me, and then all of a sudden And all of a sudden she's like, I put a tracker on him. And he's just like, oh, well, if you put a tracker on it, well, then everything's great. This is perfect. Basically, we had him right here, but hey, you're tracking him. So
Yeah.
good job. You get a pay raise, Missy.
This
We're
feels
moving
like
you up.
This feels like Catch Me If You Can.
I feel like a corner office promotion. What are you thinking? just like I'm just
Oh
I'm just
Lord.
dying because I'm like this is almost like somebody looked at this episode and just been like, we gotta make something stupid here, and this is how we're doing
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
I didn't know that in this episode that we were also going to get to watch Mission Impossible and Jurassic Park because Mission Impossible because we legitimately got to break into this fortress in the middle of fucking nowhere, and
Yep.
then also Jurassic Park because everybody's encased in amber.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
And you took it as a trophy room. I took it as a really sick and sort of twisted thing that they're experimenting on these dead Jedi. I kind of
So it states that on Wikipedia it just states that it's a trophy vault room,
okay. It
but
could be.
I mean that could be. I mean it's Wikipedia. People can
I
do
took
whatever with that.
I took it as they were keeping the Jedi for experimentation because that Padawan with the hat and everything, he was taken straight after Order 66. That kid has been there for a while, and
Yeah.
no Inquisitor hunted him down.
No.
Somebody took his body straight from the Jedi Temple, like immediately after.
Yeah.
So I took this as like this is like one of their skunk works where they're starting to work on like ways to. I took it as a way of they're trying to channel the force out of these things to make it so that Sidious can live forever. Like we see in episode
Please. No.
9.
No. That
Well,
doesn't
I'm sorry,
exist.
but that's what I took it as.
That doesn't
Um,
exist.
it does,
It
whether you
doesn't.
like it or not. Um, but I legitimately did, and I had to laugh at the whole exchange with Tala, like you said, getting stopped by airport security on her way into the
That
Fortress
dude.
Inquisitoris. Uh, um, just
That dude got
just
put in his
wanted.
fucking place. Like, sorry, I'm
I,
so sorry. Please don't fire
if
me.
apparently Karens live in a galaxy far, far away as well because she just goes off on this
Oh, she
poor
went
dude,
ham
and
on this dude.
I have to laugh at it because I mean this guy is I mean when he first pulls her aside, he is one of the hardest guys ever. And I'm just like, oh well, this is where their whole little shenanigan ends right away. And then all of a sudden she turns it around, and I mean it is like, let me speak to your manager. I'm going to tell you exactly how this is. You know what? You get Darth Vader himself on the phone because I'm going to ream you a new one, and you're not going to have a job after the end of today. You um it's just it was just funny. This one it was pleasant for me, not in a story way, but just as I got a couple good chuckles out of this episode, and I was just it, it was a good story. It just did it make sense? No, not necessarily, but I I'm still laughing at it because by the time all I think of is just Obi-Wan Kenobi in a trench coat with a giant lump on his side. Just like this isn't what's he hiding under there? You should
That's
see
all I
my
could
third
hear in
leg.
my head. Oh, Jesus. All right, moving on to part 5. So this episode opens up to a flashback. It's 13 years prior where Obi-Wan and Anakin are training. Anakin is still a Padawan because he's got his cute little ponytail or his little rat tail as they call it. And they're training, and clearly you can tell that Anakin is really good, but he's very aggressive. So because of his aggression, he ends up losing the fight. And they didn't even bother de-aging Hayden Christensen in this. They're just like, nah, you look 40, it's fine. No one's gonna care. And people are like, why does he look so old? And it's like, because it's later. Like this episode 3 came out freaking 17 years ago. So that happens, and then it's the present where the Empire is tracking Kenobi's location to Jabim. And this is where Vader officially promotes Reva to Grand Inquisitor. The Empire arrives to pretty much attack the what the hell are they called?
Path.
The Path. Jesus. So they come to attack. Vader is there too because he's like, well, if Kenobi's here, I'm here. I'm finishing this shit. And during everything, they have like all the doors shut, but they're trying to open the escape hatch pretty much to get their plane out of there, or to get the ship out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And Obi-Wan ends up talking to Reva through the door, and he finds out that Reva was a youngling, and she witnessed Anakin kill all the younglings. And her plan is to get really close to Vader to then at some point turn on him and kill him. let's see how that goes there, Jim. So she knows that Vader is Anakin, that and all of that stuff, all of the backstabbing that's about to be attempted. They end up breaching the doors. Tala sacrifices herself with the cool droid from episode 2. She's got the grenade. She's like, may the force be with you. And then she blows up. And after all that, that's when they're like, okay, we got to get on the ships and we got to get out of here. Because Leia's actually, the whole time all this is happening, Leia is up in the control panel because the corrupted Lola screwed with the door controls. And so Leia's up there trying to fix it. She decorrupts Lola and she gets the doors to open. And god damn it, this is when I knew something badass was about to happen, because Vader's like, well, clearly you suck, so I'm gonna go do this myself. And he just storms through through all the hallways, and he walks through those doors, and the ship goes to take off, and and you notice that in like most Star Wars movies when people are using the Force, it's really strenuous. Like they're really fucking dude, he's just like, and just tosses that ship down. Like no strain at all. He just whoop, and the ship stops. He throws it to the ground, and then he just does one little swipe and rips all the goddamn metal off the side. You're like, oh my god. Things were happening in my pants. But then of course this was a decoy ship. No one's in there. The ship behind it blasts off. I don't know why he didn't try to stop that, because he could clearly do that, but clearly it would have ruined the whole thing. And the other ship escapes, and this is when Reva then tries to make her move on Vader, and not in a good way either. This is a bad move, because Vader just slaps the shit out of her without even barely using his saber. Like, she comes up from behind him, and he literally just opens up his hand, and it stops her saber, and he literally just uses his hands to stop her moves. And it's just so cool, because there is literally zero effort being used by Vader, and she is trying really hard to strike him. And then he ends up using her own lightsaber to stab her in the stomach. And you're just like, listen, I understand he killed younglings, but Darth Vader is the coolest fucking character in Star Wars. I don't give a fuck, okay? This dude is awesome.
If you could just pass the whole youngling
part. If we could just erase that from our memories. Vader's awesome. I mean, he's just so badass. Like, the things he can do with the Force, like, that's what we want to see. Like, I feel like with the sequel trilogy and the way they use the Force and, like, how other people, it's so lame. Like, this is what I want. Like, zero effort. This man is just a straight up badass. He knows he is. And he literally beat this woman without even using his own lightsaber. He just bang, 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 just doing crazy things with his hands, and then stabs her with her own. And you're like, I don't know what you thought was going to happen here, Reva, but it didn't go your way.
Yeah.
In the slightest.
That's an understatement.
Oh my Lord. So she is on the verge of death, and guess what? Guess what, everybody? All you people who are all up in arms about the Grand Inquisitor's dead. Ah! He's not dead, okay? Simmer down. Oh my god. So
I
of
think
course, he needs
I
to
think that
take
was
his
the
pin
best
back.
thing when they just walk in.
Oh, what was his line? He said a really cool line. Oh,
Uh,
man. Something about like revenge or something like that, or I don't remember. But it was a cool line. I like how he had to take his pin back. He's got the Grand Inquisitor. It literally just says Grand Inquisitor. Like people, he needs that. He needs that. Okay.
oh, he
He,
said he comes in and he says, "Hello, third sister. Revenge does wonders for the will to live, don't you think?
yes.
Your rage
Yes.
was useful, now it's tiresome." And then finally just says, "We will leave you where we found you, in the gutter where you belong." And then he just goes like, "Goodbye," and he takes her lapel off and then just walks out. And I'm
Yep.
like, badass.
Yep. And she is on the verge of death, but she finds the communicator and finds some pretty cool crucial information that Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, has children.
Mm-hmm. And
But
one
she
of them
doesn't.
just happens to be on Tatooine.
Whoa! So yeah, so that's pretty much how that episode ends. Quick thoughts on episode 5.
Episode 5 was my second favorite episode of the whole series. Just because of the you really started to get the action scenes, like you said, once again, Darth Vader just being an absolute badass with the whole just like, that's a ship, just mine, and then just rip. Um, I felt like at that moment where you see the second ship take off, it's like you said, he could have just went like, yeah, no, and then just like taken it. But I just feel like after he did that, and then he sees the other one take off, he just in the back of his head, he's going like, "Bravo, Kenobi."
Yeah.
Bravo. Just once again, just like, okay, you earned that. Go on. I'll catch up with you. Um, he's like, I got bigger fish to fry. Um,
Oh god.
and just once again, the badassness where he stops all of Reva's attacks with his hands, and then to add insult to injury, breaks her lightsaber in half, tosses half of it to her, takes the other half himself, and then has a quick little duel with her, which
Yeah.
we all know how quickly that ends up
Yep.
working. Uh, for a second, Reva kind of looks like, oh, maybe she's got a little bit of a, thing, and then he just goes
Right.
like, okay, well, I'm bored of you, and then just like throws her off to the side, stabs her, and it's just like,
Yep.
I knew all the time who you were. I knew that you were a youngling that I thought I killed. Whatever. The Grand Inquisitor walks in, laughs at her, goes, "Ha ha, you're dumb," and then just like turns around and walks
Right.
out. Um, I find it hilarious because then I've seen this meme like 2-3 times on Facebook now where it's like a 3-pane meme, and it starts off with like the Grand Inquisitor, the fifth brother, and like I think it's like the fourth sister standing in like a room. They've got a mic and they're like, okay, now tell her that she's the Grand Inquisitor. And then it flashes to that scene where Vader
it's
goes,
a
"Now rise, Grand Inquisitor." And then all of a sudden, like they're all
it's a
just it
practical
flashes back
jokers.
and they're all just dying in
It's
this
a
room.
practical jokers Star Wars edition.
That's what it was. And I'm just dying because
Oh.
I'm like, that is so what they just did. And
Oh my
they've been
lord.
building that up since episode 2 or part 2, and I'm just like, he never died. Vader knew he never died. He
Right.
knew what she did, and he just played along with it because he had nothing
Oh
better to
lord.
do. Um, if
That's
that's not a
great.
slap in the face. But,
Right.
got once again, just some good Vader being Vader. You start to see the birth of a rebellion here, which I thought was pretty important, with the path, doing whatever they can to get Leia and Obi-Wan out along with all of the other people that were with them. You start to see that birth of the rebellion there. You're only 10 years after the events of the Clone Wars, stuff like that. The rebellion is not a thing yet, and
Right.
you got to remember that because we're so used to with like Rogue One, even being prior to that, the rebellion's a thing. You don't see that. You don't even really start to really hear it until the animated series Rebels. But here we are, we're seeing that first spark of a rebellion begin, and I think a lot of people are going to overlook that in this series. That this is the first time you're actually seeing somebody stand up to the Empire, and this is where it's all going to start. And as you've come to find out with these characters that are in it, this is the start of the rebellion. These are the guys that go on to
To
form.
start it up. Yeah.
Yep, start it up. So, just I think it was a good episode. I know people are going to shoot some holes in it. Uh, Once again, just good acting for a lot of them, especially the whole flashbacks with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor looking like they did in episode 2. I thought that was wonderful how they did the little jump back and forth from time to time, throughout the episode. They didn't all just give it to you in one shot. They kind of tied in pieces of that whole training thing that Obi-Wan and Anakin were going through into the episode to kind of give it a theme. I
Right.
loved that. Uh, I I was kind of on the fence with the whole not de-aging them to make them look,
Yeah.
more like their thing, but I was kind of also just like,
I don't care. I didn't
yeah,
care.
I mean, I was just kind of like, I understand what we're doing here. So I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And they more or less still look the same. So I was just kind of like, okay, let it go.
Yeah.
Very happy with it. That's pretty much all I'm going to say on episode 5 because part 6 is going to be. So,
Oh, yes. Let's get to the season finale, part 6. Oh, so Riva has got the information on Luke on Tatooine. So she goes to Tatooine. Who does she run into? But Obi-Wan's boss at the meat factory there, who's just a piece of shit. And she pushes the water out of his hand. I was like, yeah, that's what you deserve, you piece of shit. And he says the same line that he says to the guy in the first episode when the guy complains about his like payment, like how much money he was getting paid. And I think it's like, what do you? Is there something you want to say?
yeah.
And he says it again in the water line. And she goes up to the vendor and asks about Owen. It then shows Owen and Luke in like a parts like
Yeah, it's like a
shop or something
parts
like
store.
that. Yeah, because they need a part for the speeder that Luke ended up breaking, and that same vendor comes in and talks to Owen, and they're like, "Well, we gotta get the frick out of here." Oh, Obi-Wan is it pretty much is like, listen, this ship is getting bombarded, and the shield is only going to last for so long. So I need to take the escape pod or whatever it is, and I need to leave. I need them to follow me. I know Vader's going to follow. That's who Vader wants me. So I'm going to kind of sacrifice myself and leave. And it ends up working because Obi-Wan was right. Vader is so obsessed with getting Obi-Wan that even with the Grand Inquisitor, who has the most logical reasoning, he's like, why would we don't care about the one Jedi. We should get the people. We should stop all that because that could be dangerous.
If they had shot and destroyed that ship, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would have never happened. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just done. I mean that was it. No
Yeah.
rebellion.
But Vader is so determined to get Obi-Wan that it ends up, they end up following him, and the Grand Inquisitor is just like, well, there's nothing I can do. And so Vader goes into his own ship. They go down to this planet. It's a really cool. I like the lighting of this planet, especially when they're
Mhm.
fighting with the sabers illuminated, and the whole back and forth between Vader and Obi-Wan, where he's like, did you come here to destroy me? And Obi-Wan's like, I will do what I must.
It was an actual quote for quote line from episode 3, if you caught that.
Yeah.
I thought that was freaking brilliant. I was just like, "Oh my god, we're on Mustafar. This is the Duel of Fates all over again."
Yeah, and it's like, "Oh, and then well, then you shall die." Before this, though, Obi-Wan's on his ship, and he finds that Leia put Lola in his pocket. So he keeps Lola on the ship. So Vader and Obi-Wan have an awesome saber fight. This is the fight that we've always wanted to see between Obi-Wan and Vader because Obi-Wan is now stronger, and even Vader tells him that, but he's like, "Well, you're still going to lose because I'm just better than you." They get into this
As he
really cool
legitimately rips a whole freaking rock out and just like,
right. He's like throwing rocks at him like with ease and stuff, and then he ends up throwing Obi-Wan into a hole and then throwing rocks on top of him. And then Vader walks away, and Obi-Wan, this is when Obi-Wan like, has thoughts where he thinks about Leia, he thinks about Luke, he thinks about, the good times pretty much, and he becomes a very powerful Jedi and uses the Force to easily just remove all the rocks that were on top of him. Vader's a very slow walker because I can guarantee Obi-Wan was in that hole for a bit. And they meet back up again, and we get an awesome second round of the fight. And this is when Obi-Wan has the upper hand. So in the first part of the battle, Vader, I mean, it was a pretty good fight, but Vader had the upper hand. But now Obi-Wan has the upper hand. He is doing moves we haven't seen him do since the prequel series. And he ends up damaging. I love the move he makes where he blocks Vader's saber and then uses the hilt to then backwards smash into Vader's breathing apparatus. And he just
mhm.
keeps smashing it. And you hear the wheezing, which we haven't heard. Well, I think it's probably was used in the animated series.
You hear it a lot in the animated series, but really in the actual live action, you
Return of the
only hear
Jedi.
it in episode 6. Yep.
Yeah. So, he's wheezing, so he's starting to like, he's not having a fun time because he can barely breathe. But he's still in the fight. He's starting to get more aggressive, and Obi-Wan is using that against him because he knows like Anakin is still in there, and he knows how Anakin would react to that. Like he is starting to lose, so he's going to be more aggressive, and so Obi-Wan takes advantage of that, and we get the really cool swipe through the helmet. And supposedly that's how he gets the scars on the top of his head when, like, at the end of episode 6, when he takes his helmet off and he's got those scars on the top of his head. They're in the same exact spot as where that slash from Obi-Wan happened.
Okay. I didn't
And
I didn't put that together, but I can see that now.
and you get to see Hayden Christensen's face as
Mhm.
burnt up boy Darth Vader. And I like the whole like it's his voice, but it's also like the Vader voice is like
Mhm.
trying to come out, but it's broken. So you hear mostly Hayden Christensen's voice, and the whole fact where Obi-Wan wants to save Anakin, but Anakin turns around. He literally was like, "You didn't kill Anakin. I killed Anakin,"
Yep.
and that's when Obi-Wan finally comes to the realization that Anakin is truly dead, and there's no turning him back from the dark side. And so that's when he goes, "Well, then goodbye." And instead of saying Anakin, he says Darth and
Yep.
then walks away. And this is when Vader, Vader's, it's still Anakin. Vader's down on his knee and he's, you know, he wants to continue his fight, but he can't. And he's yelling, "Obi-Wan, Obi-Wan!" And just keeps
Mhm.
yelling it, which is kind of similar to, was it, I think, Clone Wars with Darth Maul, where he's like,
Yeah, he
"Kenobi!"
Kenobi! Yeah.
It kind of feels that way, but it's Obi-Wan.
Yep.
So after that, we get the fight, or we get Riva showing up to Owen and Beru's little house. And they stand their ground. They're shooting at her. Of course, she's got the Force, so she's throwing things at him and stuff like that. And Luke runs away. He runs into the hills there, or the rocky cliffs, and he's really bad at hiding.
Terrible.
And Riva finally catches up to him. She like takes out the side of the rock wall there, and it causes him to fall, and it knocks him out. And then she turns her lightsaber on. You think she's gonna kill him, but she doesn't. And Obi-Wan gets a signal from the Force to say that Luke's in trouble. So he's like, I gotta go to Tatooine. I don't know where originally he was going, but yeah. So Luke is Riva is hanging over him, and then it cuts away, and Obi-Wan comes to see that, Beru and Owen are looking for Luke, and they're doing a terrible job. They're just kind of standing in one spot, just going, Luke, where are you, Luke? Like, maybe walk a little bit. Yeah. You're just standing in one spot. What do you think you're not gonna find anything? But then they see Riva come out of the shadows carrying Luke, and she puts him down, and he wakes up, and he runs to Owen and Beru, and Obi-Wan has a conversation with her, and kind of is like, I'm glad that you were able to kind of, come back, get out of the darkness, because she's like, I couldn't do it. Like, I couldn't kill him. She's like, I feel like I let them down, which I thought this was a really cool thing. This conversation this is probably my favorite part of Riva's whole story, is this ending, because it's her, realizing that she can help without becoming the person that she hated the most, which was what she was doing. She was becoming like Vader. She wanted to make him suffer because of what he did. So, why not kill his kid? Even though Vader doesn't even know he exists.
Right.
So, she gets redeemed, I guess, and she disappears. We then go back to Mustafar and Vader's castle there, and he's talking to the Emperor, Ian McDermott, or McDarmond, I think that's his name. He's back at the Emperor. And this is like one of those moments where Vader, or they're talking about Obi-Wan and all that stuff, and the Emperor it's just one of those moments. He's like, "Are you like good, man? Like, you're kind of obsessed, and you need to chill." He's like, "Obi-Wan is not important to me anymore." And it's like, I feel like it kind of is. He's like, "I only serve you, Master." And he's like, "Okay, well, that's good. I'm happy to hear it." And he's got a brand new mask. I can guarantee he's got like a closet. It's just Vader masks.
What am I going to wear today? And it's this whole little thing, like on a rollers of like just countless Vader suits in this closet.
Yeah, because it happens again in Rebels. His mask gets sliced on the other side.
Yep.
By Ahsoka. Yeah.
Yep.
So I thought that was like, oh damn, he's just getting slashed in the face. So Leia, they go back to Leia goes back to Alderaan, and she's now taking things more seriously. She wants to help change things, even though her planet's going to be blown to smithereens in like 8 years. And, her and her father are going to work together to change things. Kenobi visits to say one final goodbye, and he brings Lola back. She's like, "Am I ever going to see you again?" He's like, "Yeah, when I'm an old man and you forget who I am." We're like, okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. They go back to Tatooine, or he goes back to Tatooine. He resolves like his spat that he had with Owen, because Owen just for some reason hated him. And he finally is like, "Do you want to meet Luke?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've been spying on him in the rocks for so long. I need to finally come face to face with him."
Hey there, big boy.
No. And he goes up to him and he says, "Hello there." Because we needed it, everybody.
Yep, we did.
We needed it. So he then kind of, he becomes a different man. And that's when he finally sees his old master, Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson once again, looking a little bit older. since he hasn't played this character in 23 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about the time gap for that one real quick. I mean,
Oh,
holy
man.
cow.
Yeah. So, yeah, we get to see Qui-Gon as a Force ghost, and I guess he's gonna help Obi-Wan with stuff. And that's it. That's the end of the series. What did we think of the season finale of this show?
By like I said, episode 5 was my or part 5 was my second favorite only because part 6 was by far my favorite of the whole series.
Right.
Uh, just the action, the lightsaber duel we get between Vader and Obi-Wan here on the planet is just glorious. Everything from the choreography of the fight down to the glow of the sabers on this planet. I mean, just everything. It is so well in my mind, just so well done. Um, I actually had to go back. I watched that fight twice. Just because I was just like I needed this. I needed this fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I've seen the fan made version of the fight from A
From New
New
Hope?
Hope where they sped it up.
Oh my god.
That was sweet, but while I'm also kind of like we've seen this, we know that this is how they should be fighting. I also sit there and I'm like
It's a little much.
they're both older in A New Hope,
Right,
and I'm
right,
kind of like time has gotten to those guys, so they don't really fight near as fast, you know.
right.
I kind of let that one go. Um, but just there was very little that I wanted to nitpick about the season finale because or series finale, if you will, depending upon whether they take the rumors of a second season of Kenobi and make it true. Um, this was just to me wonderful. You see Leia's character come full circle finally. You know she's going to be the leader of the rebellion that we expect to see. You know, with her how she changes her outfit and stuff like that.
Right.
She wears Tala's holster that
Yep.
Obi-Wan gives her. Um, she's just very much it's like she becomes the Leia that we see in the movie here. You know, she's very focused on we're going to get rid of the Empire. We're going to find a way to do this, and she's going to work with Bale to, you know, make this happen.
Yep.
Um, the whole thing with Riva, like I said, kind of disappointed me a little bit. I like the fact that she came full circle a little bit, became, you know, back to her Jedi roots, if you will, where she just can't kill. You know, she's not that way.
Right.
Um, the whole meltdown about, you know, am I like him now? Where she's talking about, am I like Vader? I don't know. I mean, I get the fact that if you're gonna make a major side change here, I get the fact that you got to have an emotional breakdown like this. But it's like we invested 6 episodes into this character. We were supposed to be pretty emotionally invested in her, and then all of a sudden she just kind of gets written off like, "Hey, you just go do whatever you want. You know, you're not under Vader's payroll anymore. You go
Right.
be you. You're
Yep.
self-employed now, girl. You get out there, make that bank. Whatever. I mean, just it just seemed like it was just awfully just kind of like whatever. Just kind of you do you.
Yeah.
I loved the emotion and the feeling that I got from Owen and Beru on protecting Luke in this
Yes.
one. And there's even a line in there where it's like you protect him like he's your own and Owen goes he is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, "Oh my god, you never really got that whole thing with, like, where you start at in A New Hope and you see Owen and Beru and Luke, and you just never get that, like, "He's my son, I love him," you know, stuff like that, and you really get that emotional thing that Owen and Beru are fully invested in this kid. They see him as a son, like a biological son. There's nothing to be said about any of that. I mean, they show they will take a bullet for him if or get stabbed in the gut if it means, what it is. And I was really impressed with how they actually held their own against Riva. Granted, I know Riva was probably extremely hurt in that
Right.
scene and stuff like that, but they did a very nice job with that. And I was just I was pleasantly surprised with all of the action. There was seriously a part where between the Vader fight scene with Kenobi and the whole Riva versus the Larses, um, I seriously paused the episode the first time I watched it about halfway through. I looked in the timestamp. I think I was at 23 minutes, and I was like, "Holy cow! This is only half the episode." I was like, "Oh my god! I feel like I should have been watching this, and we should be at like the last
Right.
5 minutes of this episode. Like they're going to wrap this up, and this is just I'm going to be like, whoa." And they actually the way they laid this episode out, I felt by the end of it, I was just like, this was perfect. This was so well done. I wish that the rest of the series could have been as good as this episode. Um, it's just there's so much I could go over. I could legitimately probably talk about this part for legitimately another hour, but I'm just like between the lightsaber battle, the choreography, the lighting, everything about that, it was just chef's kiss to whoever did the work on that. And the whole thing with seeing Anakin and the whole Vader thing where you get both that mesh of Hayden Christensen's voice but also James Earl Jones's voice
Yeah.
was everything I wanted it to be. I
Yep.
didn't know I needed it, but hey, there it was. And to see that is just perfect. Um I have hopes now that we've seen Qui-Gon at the end of this, and that was between him and Ian Diarmid uh showing up as the Emperor, those two big cameos. I just want to give props to the Disney and Star Wars team for all of the wonderful cast members they got into this. I mean the little cameos they got from Liam Neeson and that was great. But I mean,
Yep.
like you said earlier in this episode, bringing back the same actor and actresses for the Larses. I mean, just all of these guys that we were introduced to in earlier or later uh movies, just to reprise their roles, I thought was amazing. And almost needed for this. And I feel like somebody at Disney was sitting there going like, no, we need to get these specific people, otherwise this isn't gonna work.
Right.
Um it left me at the very end going like, I know that there's not probably a chance for a second season of Kenobi, but I want it. I want it so bad. I want to see now that we got Liam Neeson back in the fold as Qui-Gon, and he's got to teach Obi-Wan all this stuff, and everything. The 10 seconds I got of him was not enough. I need more. I need a lot more. And I don't even care if well, personally, I kind of hope if there is a season 2, I hope we don't even see Luke or Leia. I just hope. I hope we
Yeah,
don't.
I
I,
agree. We're
I
probably not
hope
gonna
it,
see
it
Vader either.
well, probably not. If there is, it's gonna be like a quick little kerfuffle somewhere. But um,
I feel this was the final fight before they fight again in New Hope.
I feel like it has to be because there's another little plot hole there where they talk just the wording between when Obi-Wan and Vader meet on the Death Star in Episode 4. There, just kind of like the last time you saw me, I was the Padawan or whatever. Now I am the master. I mean, it basically was like he refers to Episode 3.
Yeah, yeah,
Like there
yeah.
was nothing in between. But
Well, I
I'm gonna
mean,
look
that's what
over that
happens
one
when it was the
too.
first movie made in the franchise, where it
I
was
guess
like George Lucas didn't expect it to get to this point.
I guess what I would like to see is if they were to do anything with Episode 4, I don't want them to reshoot it. I don't want them to do anything, but I guess I'd like to either see them like somehow change those words just a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, which I understand because everybody's gonna nitpick and say, "Oh, plot hole, oh, plot hole," and I'm like, "Of course there's gonna be plot holes."
Yeah.
Those movies are 40 years old, and they didn't even know. Well, number one, they never knew that a Obi-Wan Kenobi series was gonna be made to fit in between episodes 3 and 4. I mean, they George Lucas never thought that was gonna happen.
Right.
Um, so it's just I guess if for the sake of continuity, I'd love to see just a little bit of a change there, even if they do like a 50th anniversary release here in another 10 years or whatever. Uh, where they change those little tiny words or something like that.
Right. Yeah, just change the dialogue a little bit.
Yep, just a
That'll
little
make
bit.
sense. But
But that's just basically it. Other than that, extremely happy with the episode, extremely happy with the series. Would love to have another season, even though I don't know which way direction they would go. Acting I thought was amazing, and god dang it, I need more Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. That's just all I need, and I'll be happy with my life.
I couldn't agree more. This episode was one of the greatest pieces of Star Wars that I've watched personally because just the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and the mask breaking and stuff like that, just the interaction and like the conversation they have with each other. Like it's just like that is something that I've wanted to see since I was a kid. I've wanted to see
Agreed.
Darth Vader do cool things because to be honest, watching him in the original trilogy, he doesn't do a lot. Like, and he's very clunky. But I mean, that's just
Mhm.
the sign of the times. The suit, it's based on the suit and stuff like that, where, we're 45 years later, it's a little bit different. And
Right.
you got Hayden Christensen under that suit, doing a lot of the choreography, like because he's been Anakin since 2002, so he's
Right.
able to do those moves, and you can tell like it's a little bit different because of the fact he's wearing a suit, but it still looks so good, and the different fighting styles and the way they're using the Force against each other and the interaction they have with Anakin is truly dead and I loved it. I probably like if I go back and watch this series, I'd probably just turn on the 6th episode and just watch it again, just because
I
I want to see that fight again.
Yep.
It's just so good. But overall, I thought this show was fun. I don't think it was great. I think how many live action Star Wars shows have we gotten so far? Is it
Uh,
4? We got 2 episodes
mm,
or 2 seasons of Mandalorian, this
the Book of Boba
and
Fett.
Book of Boba Fett, right?
Yeah, so yeah, like three shows, 4 seasons, whatever.
So I would probably rank this second out of all the live action Star Wars shows. I mean Mandalorian season 2 is just so good. This
Mhm.
is this is number 2 because of Darth Vader and Obi-Wan in their fights. Number 3 would probably be Book of Boba Fett slightly. I just hate the fact that that show is called Book of Boba Fett and we barely get any Boba Fett. And then of course I think the bottom is going to be Mandalorian season 1 because it just wasn't that great. It really wasn't. There was a lot of just terrible filler episodes that didn't need to be there, and it was kind of a very rough start for that show, but it redeemed
Right.
itself for season 2. That's my official rankings for the live action Star Wars shows that I didn't even plan on doing. I just wanted to talk about it for a little bit.
Book of Boba Fett, which is really just The Mandalorian season 2.5.
Exactly. That's why I put it at number 3 because of the
Yep.
Mandalorian episodes. But that's it. I mean, we've pretty much talked this to death. We're almost at 2 hours, which is pretty crazy. But
There's a
hey,
lot to cover.
we're going to be releasing this on Monday, what's Monday? June 27th.
Yes.
So everybody will have some time to watch the entire series if they haven't, and then you guys will be able to dive into our almost 2 hour long episode of us talking about this entire series, which was a blast. I hope you all liked the little the little way that I talked about each episode is something a little bit different. I like adding it's fun to add humor to the whole thing. It's not that I don't like this show. I did, but it just, jokes just come to me and
It's
I need to
it's
share them with
fun.
all of you. Schoening, thank you so much for being on.
This has been a blast, man. I'm
It
so
was
glad
so
to be
much
back.
fun. It's so much fun. Always great to have you. I don't know when we'll have you back on again, but it'll be soon enough. We'll figure out what we're gonna be doing next, and
Whenever you want me, I'm
we'll
here.
be getting you on the horn, and we'll be getting you back. The next TV show we're gonna be talking about is probably gonna be Miss Marvel, which I'll probably be getting my good friend Static Arbiter back to talk about that
Yeah.
since he came on to talk Moon Knight with me. So I said, fuck it, he'll be the Marvel guy, and Schoening here will be our space guy.
Yay, space guy.
Our honorary dissect that film co-hosts.
I love it.
And we're also at some point going to be doing we're going to be talking about Stranger Things season 4, but most likely I'm just going to be waiting for part 2 to come out, and we're just going to do the entire season 4 when that releases. But until next time, I am your host, Brett Parker. That over there is the wonderful Andrew Schoening. This has been Dissect That Film Slice of TV. Make sure to follow Schoening on all his socials, which will be down in the description. This is the part I am the worst at. All the socials are down in the description.
You're there.
All
Go
right.
look at it.
There you go. Make sure to check out our podcast episode. Actually, this week podcast episode will be Terminator 2. So make sure to check out our Terminator 2 podcast episode on Friday. And possibly I don't know. There's content on this channel. Well, I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
May the force be with you.